If you love somebody, show it, do it, be it.
I know the scripture tells us, love your neighbor as you love thyself. And you have to love yourself before you can pour into other people.
You can't pour from an empty cup. I used to think that taking care of myself was selfish. If you don't love yourself, how are you going to love anybody else? Because you can't give out what you ain't got. Your actions definitely speak for you. You don't even have to say a word. I can just sit here like this and you would know that this is my thing right here.
What's one value that you think is missing on how people show up for each other now?
Consideration.
This podcast is not just about business. It is about the people behind the brand, their stories, their triumphs, their struggles, and their relationships that really shape them. So I wanted to start this podcast off by really grounding this new journey in something that's super special to me. And beyond talking about branding and leadership and strategy, we're talking about identity and influence and how we connect. And there has been no greater influence on me than the first influence, my mama. So I'm really excited to welcome her to the podcast today.
Hello.
This is my mama, Tonya Milam. And I want to kick things off by having her tell a little bit about herself. I know she doesn't love to be in the spotlight, but I really wanted her to be here to share her wisdom and her perspective on relationships and how you build them, how you maintain them, because she needs to teach a master class. So go ahead and tell the people who you are beyond being my mama.
Hi, my name's Tonya, and I, as you know, am Shauna's mother. I call her Shauna. Um, I I want to consider myself a person that spreads love. Um, to me, that's the ultimate love. And if I had to describe myself in one word, that would be it. I try to express it in everything I do, not just business, but in life. Um, I love to write. I consider myself a poet and a short story writer. I am Addie's Gigi, and that's my granddaughter, and that's one of my most beloved positions is being her grandmother, and of course being Tashana's mother is one of the joys of my life. Um, I am the client relations manager for Beyond Business Solutions, and I enjoy that. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy whatever needs to be done. That's me. I am the primary caregiver for my mom. Uh, she is not, she doesn't need me 24/7, but I do mostly everything for her.
Does.
Yeah, she does. And I'm grateful that I can. I'm grateful that I'm available and able to help. And I feel that same way in regard to my daughter and my son in love and my granddaughter Addie and my grandpa Alex. Uh, I'm what you call somebody who just loves to give, whether that be physically, spiritually, mentally, financially, whatever I have, I want to share.
You wear many hats. You know, my mom does so much that does not come across on a job description or any of the other things. She does all the things that to make our life easier, and I'm so grateful. Um, but one of the earliest lessons she taught me is about how to treat people and treating people the way that you want to be treated. So, what were your earliest lessons in how to treat people?
Well, one of the things I learned early on was dealing with death. Um, Somebody that I really loved passed, and I remember not ever remembering telling them that I loved them. So I was 10 years old then.
Tell who it was.
It was my well, I won't even say step, my bonus grandfather, Charles Thrash. He passed away when I was 10 years old, and it shook my world. And one of the first posters I bought for Tashana when she was little was a picture of these puppies. Do you remember?
I remember.
This little boy. You remember what it said?
Um, Something to the effect.
It was
if you love
about
someone. Oh, if you love someone, show it.
If you love someone, show it. And that stuck with me. And there was another one that I gave
there
her
were several.
too. But one of the things that I learned early on was if you love somebody, show it, do it, see, be it. So that was what really shaped me as a young girl, to always show up authentically, whatever way I could, and to say it, because a lot of people don't know how to say I love you, or they won't say I love you, and they express it. They love you, but I believe it needs to be said. So that shaped me.
That's so interesting. I never
Did you
knew
ever?
that. I
Oh,
knew that, obviously the
oh
story,
yeah.
but I didn't know that is what like shaped you and was a defining moment of like you wanting to let people know how you felt about them.
Yes, it's
Are there any
important.
lessons that you can remember from grandma or mama, or like did they taught you about, or not even teaching you by necessarily telling you this is what you do,
Yes, I
but by
watched them.
showing you?
I watched them give. One of the ways that they gave a lot of is in their cooking.
Oh yeah.
Love was in cooking, and no better love was that fried chicken and them fried potatoes,
Some
salmon
greens.
croquettes. And both my mother and grandmother and my aunt cooked like no, and they still, well, my grandmother's gone on to glory, but my mother doesn't cook as much or well as she used to, but she was, they were
But
some
Nanny will.
oh,
Nanny still
Nanny
cooks a
still
lot.
cooks good. And that's how they express love, and you could really feel the love in their cooking. But again, too, they were some people that always told me they loved me, always made me feel important. I didn't have a male role model because my father wasn't in the home, but I had these three women shaped who I am today.
So, I think, we work here with women led organizations, and many people don't understand or have asked me, Tashana, well, why have you chosen to focus your marketing efforts there? And this is why. Um, Not only being raised by a single mother, but also being nurtured by this tribe of women, and understanding that there's things that are unique about how women position themselves and brand and market themselves versus how men do. um and one of the things that we do so well that you've spoken to is we build relationship, we build community. And whether it be by making somebody some fried chicken or showing them that you care in some other way, you know in life and in business, it really comes down to showing people that you give a something
Yeah,
about them, right?
relationships truly matter.
Yeah, they
Truly.
really, really do. So, when you were raising me, are there specific things that you were teaching me or trying to teach me about relationships um, as I was coming up? Were you intentional in that?
I believe I was, and obviously you've spoken to that before.
Hmm.
Um, I tried to teach you again how to treat people the way you want to be treated. If that don't feel good to you, it wouldn't feel good to them.
Absolutely.
And I also wanted you to remember to always pray.
Yeah.
Prayer and believe and your faith in God, it means everything. Your relationship with God means everything. Um, so that's, to me, the main thing I want to teach you is to trust God, number one.
Hmm.
Number two, to treat people the way you want to be treated,
Hmm.
and to spread love wherever you go.
Right. I mean, I think that obviously came across and is how now we're raising Addison to do the same. Like, how do you want people to treat you? If you don't want to be forced to play what everybody else
Yeah,
is playing, stop trying to force people to play what you want to play, right?
right.
And really having that foundation with God. I think that, you know, it, I know that scripture tells us, love your neighbor as you love thyself. And you have to love yourself before you can pour into other people. Well, that's a whole nother conversation for
Oh,
another day.
and let me just say that one thing I learned this from my father's side of the family. Some of my aunts, I learned from them later in life, was you can't pour from an empty cup.
That is so true.
And I used to think that taking care of myself and doing for myself was selfish.
Hmm.
And that's something I learned from Aunt Fran. She said, if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love anybody else?
Yeah.
How are you going to show up for your child if you broken?
Right.
So I believe that you have to have that self-love for sure,
Yeah.
because you can't give out what you ain't got.
That's so true. And I think too, making that time to love yourself, you have to know yourself through and through. And knowing yourself is knowing your creator. and
Amen.
having time with God and whatever that relationship looks like for you. Um, but yeah, and and everybody does it. And I have to realize this because a lot of the people watching us, they don't have their moms, or their relationship may not be good with their mom. But some of these relationships are foundational to us. And it doesn't have to be familial. Like I have a really close family and some really strong women, but sometimes your family are the people that you chose and the people that have chosen you. So I
Amen.
really want to point that out as well. I have friends that are my chosen family as well, and how we nurture and build those relationships, and our ability to do that translates into so many other areas of our life.
Yes.
Um, so one of the things that I grew up seeing was my mom having an address book. Okay. And her sitting down and writing birthday cards to people, and giving thank you cards if there was a gift given, or if somebody passed. She was just saying this morning, one of her friends she used to send a sympathy card
I
to.
just was doing that before I came up here.
So, I mean, those things are really important. We don't, and my clients often ask me, girl, you always giving us something. You always send the card, because I want to let you know that I appreciate you. And I grew up watching her in that address book, and watching her even with my dad's mom, who I, wasn't close to, God rest her soul, but watching my mom trying to extend and being the olive branch really there, and sending pictures. And when I went to see my grandmother, like her having all these pictures that my mama had been sending her over the years. So what made you like want to do that? Like what was in you that says, oh, let me send a card? This is the queen of a card, honey.
Well, one thing about me, I, and this goes back to what we just been talking about, treating people the way you want to be treated. I love to get mail. I love to be surprised.
Yeah.
And your grandmother, I did not know her. I knew your dad, of course, but she used to call us, and she was a nice lady, and I wanted her to know you,
Mm,
know as much as she could about you, through the pictures, through the little notes I would write her. And like I said, I wanted to treat her the way I want somebody to treat me.
mm-hmm.
And that's my life in a nutshell, trying to treat people. Now, I don't always do well in this, but I try.
Right.
And everybody's not receiving the way you want them to receive, but I do it anyway.
Yeah.
I do it anyway.
If you had to describe a healthy relationship, whether it be personally or professionally, how would you describe it?
I would describe somebody just being their authentic self, whether that's good or bad. I mean, what I'm saying by that is we all have days when we don't feel good. We all have days when we feel better. But just being who you are and letting people know, in a nice way how you're feeling. And I think, to me, if I know, like for instance, me and you, I can reach you. So basically, a healthy relationship is knowing what to say and what not to say.
Mm. I think a healthy relationship is the freedom to be able to be your authentic self without judgment, and the care to not try to, to be as loving in that relationship as you can be, even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Because, there is no perfect relationship,
None that I know.
um, especially familial. And, there's a lot of, we probably will talk 100 times on this podcast before it's over, but there's no perfect mother and daughter relationship, even though, many of my friends, well, I wish my mom was like your mom, or I wish this, I wish that.
Nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect. It's wonderful, but not perfect.
Yes.
And nobody's perfect but God. Look, that's what Addie says. Nobody's
It's
perfect
perfect
but
but God.
God.
So she don't even
Um,
try to be.
yeah, listen, we don't even try. We don't even need to try. But what's one value that you think is missing on how people show up for each other now?
Consideration. People
Mm.
don't consider. There's no consideration. People are all about their agendas.
Whew,
What do you think about that?
I would agree. I think too, like even in business, that people only want to consider people to engage with that they think they can use in some way.
And they can help them in some way. You're right.
And what some of the most beneficial and rewarding relationships in my career, in my life, have been ones that didn't have nothing to give me.
Exactly.
Nothing to give me from the surface level, but everything to give me from a relationship and being there and all of that. And I've had clients too that I think that are really surprised that I still reach out to them.
Of course.
Because me being in a relationship with you had nothing to do with you cutting me a check.
Exactly.
Because if I didn't like you, I wouldn't have worked with you no way.
Exactly.
You know how much money I've given back, how much money I've turned away. And not everybody is like that. And I've been really committed to having soulmate clients since I had Addie. But that whole piece on consideration, and we're human, like it's no condemnation.
No, not
but
at all.
But we do want to make you aware that you should be considerate of other people.
I think it's very important, and it shows who you are. And again, like you said, it's not all about getting a check. It's about just being
or anything,
being authentic, being kind, showing up the best way you can show up. Yeah. And that's what's important to me, to be considerate of other folk.
So you always taught me to pay attention to my actions more than just my words. Can you talk about where that came from? And you talk so much about how we treat people and not just the words we say, because anybody can say I love you. Anybody can say I support you.
Your actions definitely speak for you. You don't even have to say a word. I can just sit here like this and you would know that this is my thing right here. I don't have to say over and over I love you. I mean, and like I do believe you need to say it, but I think actions, you can tell when somebody cares for you. You can feel that love. You can feel that adoration. You can feel that kindness. I don't think, to me, that's the most important thing to me.
I'm kind of going back in my mind to you talking about how I'll call him Papa Charles, his passing, and I wish I had known him, and I could have.
You do know him because
in the spiritual.
He's everything that he had is in me,
right?
So he was just good.
Yeah, and I think, but you having that trauma, because it is traumatic for a child, and the way that you lost him, and we won't go into that story.
Yes.
But to have a 10-year-old child witness the passing of her grandfather and have that trauma leave a lot of open wounds, but also really teach you something about relationships in a way that was so telling that here, almost 43 years later, oh Jesus, I'll be 43 soon.
It's longer than that.
But I'm saying, I'm saying 43 years later because it's from you, it's coming to, from you to me, and now to Addie. So that trauma, though devastating, absolutely devastating, look at the blessing in it and what it taught you that you've now been able to pass on to me and Addie and to pretty much everyone you touch, some 50 plus years later, right?
Yes.
So I would encourage you to reframe, if you can, that hurt, that trauma, to really look at, but look at what I learned.
I learned to love.
And let people know that
and let them know that they're loved. And I loved him so much. He was such a big part of my life. And I feel like I'm able to share that because of him, because he clearly loved me with everything. We weren't even blood, but he loved me in such a way that it didn't matter. And that's enough, like you were just saying, you don't have to be blood for you to be family.
Right.
And
be family, be friends, colleagues,
whatever. He was just the epitome of all of that. And I'm glad that I'm able to pass that on.
Have you thought about it in that way?
And you really made me think about it. You really made me think about it.
Because sometimes we have to reframe.
Because I have carried that my whole life. I felt guilty. And I was so hurt that I didn't tell him. I never uttered those words. And I don't think as a 10-year-old you ever just tell people, I love you. You don't.
Well, you show appreciation.
But
if you're taught as a child to show appreciation, and
but I didn't.
Addie does.
But Addie, she has a whole different landscape than I had.
Yeah.
Now I had my family, and they always said I love you, but I don't recall ever saying it to him.
That's interesting.
And I know
I'm sure you did.
I know I didn't. And that's the reason I took his death so hard, is because I felt so guilty, because I used to tickle his feet while he was asleep and do little. I remember the memory I have of him is my sister Kim and Trish. We were like, all of us were like sisters. Well, Kim was my sister. Trish was my first cousin. And I remember him asked, this is one of the last things he did before he passed. He asked me about Easter. He said, you want to get dresses like Kim and Trish? And of course I was 5 years older than them. And my response was this: ugh, I don't want anything like them.
Oh, you spoiled.
And it was such a bratty thing to say. And that's what I remember. Some of my last little bratty things is being mean, saying I don't want to be like, he was offering to get me a dress. But my little bratty spoiled behind was, all I cared about was I didn't want to look like them.
Can I ask you this? Can you forgive a 10-year-old?
I'm going to. Can
you forgive a 10-year-old that
didn't
want to look like a 5-year-old? I
forgive you.
So you have taught me a lot. Let's shift, because that can get heavy.
That can.
You've taught me a lot about how to interact with people, how to show up for people. And this is translated into my business, and like it's largely why I consider myself a relationship marketer. I'm not out here trying to attract the masses. I'm trying to attract the right relationships into my life and my business. Can you see any parallels or anything familiar about how I approach relationships, in comparison to how you approach relationships?
You do it in the same way. I listen to a lot of your calls. I listen. I mean, I can't help, but I ain't trying to eavesdrop. But
he lives here.
I do listen, and I think to myself, that's my child. And I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Because you're doing everything that I wanted to do. As far as letting people know what they mean to you. I mean, I know I do that now, but you have started early to be that. And you was even doing that in high school, being cooking and carrying on for everybody, and always thinking about people, always trying to fill a need. I mean, you've always been that. And that I admire that about you. And yes, you learned a lot of that from me. And yes, you learned a lot of that from Mama and Nanny and all them. But the fact is that you let it stick.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to.
That's true.
Because some people, like, a lot of things that you don't let stick.
You know what I don't let stick? Work it out.
Well, we got that in common.
So, as we wrap up,
but you know what? We can start to make it stick. A little bit at a time.
Yes, we can. We can. So, some quick stuff, and that is more personal. What's your favorite thing about being a mom?
The love and the fact that I can watch the changes and the growth, and that I'm so loved.
Am I who you thought I'd become?
Actually, you're better than I thought who I thought you'd become.
Oh, do tell.
I always knew. Even when I was pregnant, I was a happy pregnant woman. And, I didn't understand it, because I was, some days I didn't feel good, but even when I didn't feel good, I was happy. And I knew you were going to be special, and you have not let me down. And for the record, my child is not perfect, but she has never, she has never given me a moment's trouble, except one time when
Okay.
But anyway. Her talking, for instance, at school. And, even
we filed report cards the other day about my talking.
Oh, my God. But, I was a talker. And, I
can't you tell?
Yes, yeah, you can. But anyway, you're more than I ever could have hoped for or prayed. I prayed. Of course, I was praying the whole time I was pregnant. But you are a blessing. And I know you, first of all, you're God's. You're not just mine. You're His first. He blessed me with you.
Right.
So there you go.
Okay. What is one thing that you hope that I always carry with me?
Your faith.
Okay. And your definition of a love in one sentence.
God.
Love that. All right, Mama, you dropped so many gems today. Um, what would you leave our listeners with? One thing you want to leave our listeners with before we have a little bit more fun.
Um, live, love, and laugh a lot. Have fun. Enjoy every moment. I was just writing something down, when I was downstairs doing my sympathy card.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a little note out, and it says, life is many things. Things that you thought you knew everything about it. You know everything about it, you think, and then you know nothing. So it's coexisting, everything and nothing that you know.
Right.
And I had a lot more, but I don't remember it. But I got it written down. I should have brought it up here, but I didn't know you was gonna ask me this stuff. But live and love and laugh a lot, and don't have any regrets. That's what that's one of the things I want to say. Live your life in a way, like if you want to do something, like for instance, you see somebody over there and you want to say something to them, go say something to them.
Right.
Don't wait.
Okay. Couple more quick questions. Fast. I already know the answers to these things, but morning bird or night owl?
I'm a morning person.
Okay. What's your coffee order?
My coffee is, I like a little brown sugar, and right now I'm into the brown sugar espresso. I like that.
The Starbucks creamer.
Yes, okay. I like that.
What's one book you think every woman should read?
The Coldest Winter Ever.
Really? That's your choice?
For real. Oh, and then write it down, make it happen.
So
Coldest Winter Ever would teach you again how to treat people.
That's true. I haven't read it since like high school or college.
I'll never forget that book. It should have been a college. It should be on a must-read list.
It's probably banned now.
It's probably what?
Banned.
Oh well, it shouldn't be.
Anywho, Write It Down, Make It Happen. It's the book that I bought for all of my clients.
Here's another
because
one.
of you.
Just Above My Head.
I've never read that.
James Baldwin. That's a good one as well.
Let me write it down.
One. Just Above My Head. He's an old author.
Well, I know who James Baldwin is, but I didn't know. I didn't know that
that was a deep book too.
Okay. Whoa. So my heart is full. This podcast is something that I've wanted to do for the last 5 years, and this it's a lot. This has really been something that's been on my heart for a long time, and to get to kick it off with my main squeeze, my first love, my mama, is really, really everything for me. And I won't get weepy, but I wanted y'all to understand some of who I am at a very foundational level. And it's authentic, it's real. We laughing, we cutting up. This is not totally scripted, somewhat scripted. But I hope that you are encouraged by this conversation. I hope that you've been able to take away some nuggets about how to treat people, not in just your, close relationships, your personal relationships, but also in your business. It's important to let your clients and colleagues and referral partners know that you care about them, that you appreciate them. So I want to encourage you to write somebody a card this week. But this is just the beginning of Conversations Beyond the Brand. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and come back for more real talk about relationships, legacy, business, stories, all the things. Until next time, stay rooted, stay bold, and stay in relationship.
Love, love, love.